Hey guys, welcome to another Mailbag episode here of Toon'd with Jim Cummings. I'm of course joined by producer Chris.
Hello everyone.
And of course the man himself, the legendary Jim Cummings. How are you, sir?
Hey, it's another day in paradise, just like I always say.
You seem to always be living in paradise, Jim.
Yeah, you can't go wrong. I highly recommend
Life
it.
is good. You just got back from more conventions. How'd the recent conventions go for you?
Yeah, a lot of fun. I always like getting out there and meeting a lot of people and hearing the nice stories of different effects that the characters have had in their lives. And I always say it's an honor. It's an honor. It's a privilege.
Yeah.
I love it.
Do you see the same faces from time to time appearing at the cons? When it comes to not other celebrities, just fans coming to see you. Do you see regular faces?
Sometimes, yeah. If they're, if they're from neighboring states, a lot of times I'll hear, well, we drove 4 hours to get here, but blah, 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 and here we are, and I'm very grateful for that. It's very flattering.
Of course, you must be.
Yeah,
how you been anyway, Chris?
Been good. Have we talked about the new Princess and the Frog ride yet?
No, that's why I thought we'd get into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just did that a couple weeks ago, huh, Jim?
Highly recommend it. Yes. Go and have too much fun.
Put up on the social media at Jim J. Cummings. Check it out on TikTok of you with the whole cast. That must have been such a fun experience to get together with all the gang again and check out the ride.
Well, it was great because we're all on a ride, and we're all just about everybody was there in the ride. Keith David and Anika Noni Rose and all my. But the thing is, we got stuck. The ride broke down, and we're sitting in the sun for about 20 minutes, half an hour, and everybody's back at the ranch wondering, gee, how come the cars aren't moving? And then it finally started going, and Keith was just at his wit's end. And it started going. He goes, well, that's better. I'll tell you, because I was there. So it went up, and it went about 100 yards, and it stopped again for about 10 more minutes. So they have to work out a few of the kinks, but it's a very incredible ride, and Tiana looked great, Anika, and it was just really gratifying. And Ray, even though it was made after the movie, so to speak, I'm not going to ruin it, but I'm going to tell you, Ray definitely makes an appearance, and it's a very musical one at that. So stay tuned.
Just Jim Cummings everywhere at Disneyland. I was just going to say, though, as we seen in They Live back in the 80s, that one man you don't want to annoy is Keith David, right?
That's right. I ain't messing with him. I'm glad I'm on his good side.
So did the ride break down before it started? So you're sitting waiting to go in, or was it?
Oh, no, it was halfway through.
It
was halfway through. We're going in and out of this big mountain, and it was. We luckily broke down right in the sun. So that was perfect. We all got a little suntan there that we did not look for.
At least you didn't break down during the last dip there at the end.
Yeah, what you said.
What did you think of it, Chris? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it's really cool. The animatronics are like some of the best animatronics.
Yeah.
Between that and the Avatar ride. It's how far the animatronics at Disneyland have come is just incredible. They move so fluidly, and it's really impressive. Mm-hmm. It's a little long. Yeah. It's a little long ride. It's like 17 minutes, which is pretty.
Is that for one ride?
For one ride, yeah. Yeah, the tour guide was telling me, and they've been prone to. So when they first open the ride, the first people that get to ride on the ride are the Disney cast members, like all the helpers at Disneyland. They're kind of like the crash test dummies. And they said that when they were going through, that their boat got held up right underneath a waterfall. So they were sitting there for like 15 minutes, and it was just pouring on top of their head, and there was nothing they could do.
Perfect.
Would you rather have the waterfall or the sun, Jim?
Well, I'd go with the sun. Yes, it's.
I just love that the crash. Nobody misses them.
Oh man. We were getting ready to get out of that boat, but we couldn't. We were being held in.
Yeah. I can imagine you and Keith just sitting there going, who's doing it first? Who's breaking out of this thing?
Yeah, well, it was getting ready to be me. Then I realized that I looked down the way there, and there was a crawl space. There was a walking space by me, but then it walked into a sheer mountain. So it was at that point, okay, so now I swim. No.
That would have been a great headline.
Yeah.
Disney icon Jim Cummings goes missing in Tiano's Bayou Adventure.
Yeah. And it was tough.
We never saw him again, but we know he's in there somewhere.
Yeah,
so if you do see him, wave, but, you know.
Yeah. And bring him a sandwich.
Did you do anything else at Disneyland whilst you guys were there?
Oh, yeah. We went to all the attractions.
Yeah.
Went to all the good stuff. Yes, indeed.
You said Avatar is your favorite, right, Chris?
Avatar is a great one. Yeah. I think my ultimate favorite, though, is... I think it's the Star Wars... what's the name of that? The Rise of the Resistance.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that
that's
looks
a good
fantastic.
It's such a fun ride. It's such a cool experience. Like, I like how they really like immerse you into the world of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I have to shout out to the Hollywood Tower of Terror.
Yes.
It's phenomenal because it's slightly different in every park. And the one in Orlando is the only one that actually moves throughout the roller coaster. The other two,
not just up and down.
the other ones just go up and down, which are still great.
Drop.
Yeah, but it's really cool to see that little
Of course.
added
Yes.
feature.
Jim's Hondo ride as well, right?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm a big gamer myself,
Lest we
so it's
forget.
like, it's like a
lest
video
we
game.
forget. Yeah, I really
roller
love it
coaster.
because
It's awesome.
yeah, you're sitting there and you're looking at him and you go, oh wow, that looks really good. Oh geez, he looks really good. And then he turns around and walks over to the railing and looks down at you and you're going, oh, whoa, okay, wasn't ready for that. Did not know that was going. I mean, it looks like somebody up there. And it's so fluid. I've said it before. It's not like the Mr. Lincoln in the old days. Well, 4 and 7 years, and
Chuck E. Cheese stuff.
it's amazing. It is amazing.
Have you ever considered, I know there's a guy that sort of does a performance sometimes as Hondo. Would you ever consider doing that just for a one-time thing for a bit of fun? Or is it just not your cup of tea?
What do you mean a one-time performance? Like in what?
Just because
Song and dance
there might
band?
have only been the grand opening, but one time there was somebody actually dressed as Hondo greeting everybody.
no, that was...
Would you ever do that? Or do you think,
No.
nah, it's too much?
No. No, that was when they opened up Star Wars Land. I remember that. They had a walk around.
Yeah.
And I'm not the guy in the Tigger costume, and I'm not the guy in the Pooh costume, and I'm not the guy in the Darkwing costume, and who else?
Don't kill the dream, Jim.
Yeah, well, too late. Yeah. No, I don't think anybody's dreaming of that.
Of course, we're here, as you tell from the title, here to do another Mailbag episode. We threw up on social media this week asking for some questions, and 500 plus more came through. So obviously, we're not going to be able to get through all of them, but I thought to start off today, we would answer the 2 most asked questions, and those being, who is your favorite character, Jim? The one you get asked the most. Let's ask that one first.
Yes. Well, the answer is Pooh, Tigger, Darkwing, Ray the Firefly, and Hondo Ohnaka. And, Taz is in there too. But because, I've got several hundred, so I have to whittle it down. But I can't really do it, whittle it down to one. So that is my official answer. And there you have it. And it's a very bouncy answer. So there you go.
What do you think it is about Hondo specifically that, is it because just you being a Star Wars fan that you hold him so near and dear to your heart?
Well, I think everybody likes a lovable rogue. And he's not a true bad guy. He's not a villain. But he's not he's no saint. You don't want to play poker with him. Keep your eye on him if you do. But he's got his own code, and he sticks by it. And I like the guy. Always liked the way that he was written, and they let me just run with it. And Dave Filoni right from the beginning. And I was pleased that George caught George Lucas's eye, and he sent me a nice letter. And let's say I think I don't want to repeat myself, but I think I was nominated for 2 Emmys on 2 separate years for Hondo.
Wow.
And so that was very. In other words, other people like him too, so that makes me happy.
Yeah. You still got the letter from George, right?
It's hanging in the other room.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I wonder if he had any say in you being such a big part of Star Wars land as well. I know he doesn't own Star Wars per se, but I wonder if he sort of said, "Hey, this character."
I don't know. Yeah, it's a wonder. I think they just look at the popularity of this character, that character, this character, and they say, "Well, let's get behind this guy because he's making a splash." Yeah. So, and it's worked out.
Is there much Hondo merchandise at Disneyland?
Not a ton. Not a
I think
ton
there
that
would
I
be
know.
with him being such a big part of the
Yeah,
whole
well,
thing.
there are little dolls. I'm sure I have one around here somewhere. But yeah, there are little plushies, and if you look at Hondo, I mean, I love the guy, but it's not like he's he's not Winnie the Pooh or Tigger,
No.
where you just want to give him a big hug. He's not that kind of a character.
Yeah.
Pirates.
Do you have a favorite
pirates.
Star Wars character, Chris? Besides Jim's, of course.
Mine growing up was because I grew up on the prequels, and the prequels I saw before I saw, the
Wow, really?
70s, 80s Star Wars. Yeah. And Mace Windu was my favorite just because he had the purple lightsaber. I was like, oh, he's unique.
Yeah.
Him and, oh my goodness, I'm going to get roasted for
Darth
this.
Maul?
No, the General Grievous.
Oh
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Forearms, yeah.
Yeah, I loved
Yeah,
his
he
character
was cool.
design. He was so cool.
I remember going to see The Phantom Menace when it first came out because I was a big Star Wars kid, a huge fan of the original ones. My uncles, my parents raised me on the original Star Wars, basically. And for some reason, I remember during Phantom Menace, halfway through, I went, this doesn't feel like Star Wars. But as the older I got, I think the more I appreciate maybe the nostalgia factor. I don't know, but I go back and watch them now and go, Jar Jar Binks wasn't as bad as we all thought he was.
He really wasn't.
You're so Russo. That weird voice.
I mean, don't get me wrong, he's incredibly annoying, but I don't dislike him
Yes.
as much as I did when I was younger.
Oh, well, I hate him enough for both of us. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I made that up.
And who didn't have a crush on Padme? I mean, come on. Get out of here. You're lying to yourself if you didn't.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the other most popular question that came through was, what advice do you have for up-and-coming voice actors? So all voice actors out there listening, here it is. The advice from Jim Cummings for all you
Yes.
aspiring voice actors.
Well, I've been asked this 100 times, and it's always go out and remember you're an actor. The V is a small, and the A is a capital letter. And I stole that from Jess Arnell. And, I was always in a lot of plays as a kid, and it was a lot of fun. And I was in fifth grade, but I didn't want to be a fifth grader in the play. I wanted to be the troll who lived under the bridge, or the frog that jumped around and did weird sounds, and that was, like I say, a character actor. And then if you do a perfect impression of someone who's famous, good. Never know. You could use it someday. And if you do a terrible impression, nobody even knows who that's supposed to be, good, because now you have a new character. And I did dead-on impressions of some of my relatives, and I've had them in cartoons. And my Uncle Sam and Aunt Grace, God rest their souls.
My Aunt Grace was Lieutenant. He was on Schmigley on Chippendale's Rescue Rangers, and that to me that just sounded like how she talked. And then my Uncle Sam, he ended up being letterhead for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with a Cajun accent, and so that works. And between those three little tidbits there, I think you've got something to work with. And then put two of them together, like Hondo is Charles Bronson and Yul Brynner put together in my head. So that's another little trick. Took me a few years to put that one together, but it works. And then you get Yul Brynner was Moses, and then Charles Bronson was this guy here. But if you put them together, you get Hondo. So that's where he came from.
There you go. So there you have it. All you aspiring voice actors. There's the advice.
There you have it.
You can stop pestering Jim for it now.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, let's go with the mailbag. So at Jim J. Cummings on social media, we posted out there this week. So many questions came through. Chris, take it away with the first question.
All right, this one is from the 90s guys. What profession would you have done if you weren't a voice actor?
Oh, gosh. Well, I still enjoyed singing, playing drums. I would have done something. Or maybe drove a school bus. So hard to say.
Do you think you were always going to be a performer?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, since I was 5. Well, I knew I was going to do this since I was 5 years old when I saw Jack Benny and Mel Blanc was on there. And my dad told me, he says, you see this guy? He's the guy that does all those cartoon voices, Taz and Bugs Bunny. And I remember, I think distinctly, I've said it before, I thought, well, he doesn't have to stand in the corner for being weird. I'll do that. And so I did.
Because it wasn't always voice acting. You wanted to be in a band, right? You were going to be
Oh,
the
I was
front man.
always,
That was the thing, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I did that for many years too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got all of my bucket list things out of the way at an early age.
Is that still something you'd love to do? Sing in a band?
No, I'd like to
Release
be
an album?
a ballet dancer.
Yeah.
Well, or not.
I'm sure Chris could teach you a thing or two.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. No, I'm a pretty happy guy.
Yeah, can imagine. All right, next question here from @KikaLeaks. They say, what character is most like you and who was the most fun to be?
Well, maybe a little Tigger and a little Hondo.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a wise guy, Hondo is, obviously. And
Chris is being
I
naughty
think so.
of Pete, right?
Yeah, but definitely Hondo.
This next one is from Brent Dodge. What character that you voice do you relate to most, and which character do you relate to the least?
Well, that was partially answered in the one about,
Yeah.
certainly Hondo and Darkwing. I relate to them the most. And as far as to the least, gosh, I don't think I've got one. I don't know who that would be. Because if you have to have some kind of connection in your head, in your soul, or wherever, and at that point, it's not a question of gradation or anything like that. It's just, I don't have one that I relate to the least.
What do you usually look for when you're trying to find that connection with a new character or a new voice?
Well, a new voice. It's I just ask them to describe the personality, and then you look at them. It's always best to have a drawing of the artist's rendering, and then you try and imagine what this guy would sound like if he started talking to you. That's the way I've always done it.
Have you ever had to voice a character without seeing what they look like first?
Well, no, you never would, because
Never would.
yeah, because
That's such a big part. Because you almost, like we've said in the past, you become the character when you are voicing them. It's almost like you're trying to imitate them, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I remember seeing. I think it was Entertainment Tonight when we first started on the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. Probably the episode we have up. I used to stand all the time when I would record, and it is so funny because I would record Pooh and my shoulders would slouch, and I would lean back a little bit and my stomach would protrude a little bit, and then when I recorded Tigger, I was standing there and my shoulders were squared and I had my hands on my hips. And I was like ready to bounce at a moment's notice, and somebody played it back for me, and it was pointed out. I think it was Entertainment Tonight, and they said, here he is doing Pooh, and here he is doing Tigger, and it was interesting, and you could tell who I was doing without hearing it, because the body language. So, and that was totally unconscious. I had wasn't planning it. It's just how it worked.
Did you become conscious of that going forward?
No,
No,
not really. I mean, however I do it.
Yeah.
That's.
Now, Jim was mentioning there an episode of Winnie the Pooh. What we're actually going to be doing after we record this is we're going to be doing an audio commentary of the pilot episode of the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. So if you want to hear that, that will be available exclusively on our Patreon. You can find the link for that in the description of this podcast/video. It's patreon.com/Jim Cummings podcast. If you want to hear Jim do an audio commentary as Jim and as Winnie the Pooh of the pilot episode of the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, subscribe today. Okay, the next question here comes from @Ashley Morena. Do you enjoy working on cartoons or video games more?
Cartoons.
Yeah.
That was easy.
You've said that.
Yeah. Video
It's just more
games.
freedom, right?
Video games are a bit tedious.
Yeah.
You're falling from 50 feet. Now you're falling from 150 feet. Now you're falling from the third moon of Jupiter. Oh, and by the way, you're on fire and you're bathed in acid. So go. And let's say, no, I want to do a Darkwing episode instead.
Yes. Shh. Chris, next question.
This is from @Joel323 Pachuco. Have you ever been in live action movies or shows?
Not very often, that's for sure. I did one million years ago, a comedy special. I don't think it really went anywhere. But I did Comic Book the Movie for Mark Hamill.
Yep.
and that was fun. I made it in the video extras, and they were kind enough. They put a little blurb about me and my career in the I guess in the extras when you bought the DVD. So yeah, that was fun. But
Would
not
you want to
too
do
much.
more live action stuff if the offer came up?
Only if I felt like it and it was good.
Yeah.
I'm pretty fulfilled.
I'm sure if a Star Wars role came up as a stormtrooper, you'd take that one, right?
Maybe so. We'll see.
Can you do the Will Hell scream?
No, I can't remember.
No.
Oh, I remember what that is, but I don't. It was like the universal going down a roller coaster scream.
Falling down.
Yeah.
Stormtroopers falling over the edge of something scream. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. This one here is from @rockon115. What voice was the easiest and most challenging for you to find in terms of being happy with how you voiced the character?
What voice was the easiest and most challenging?
To find within yourself, yeah.
Well, they weren't the same voice, I would think.
No, yes, it's two separate questions.
Yeah, I was going to say the easiest and most challenging. Well, those are two opposites. Well, I didn't think I did that good of a Winnie the Pooh at the very, very, very first. But I'm glad that other people thought differently. So
Do you mean the first episode or the first audition?
Yes. Well, they would be the same. But I kind of worked into it, and as a few episodes in, I settled into the character. It was probably the most difficult because I've said it before. I thought I was a really good Eeyore, but Peter Cullen took that, and you can't complain when you're losing to Peter Cullen. But I ended up being Pooh and Tigger, so it was a pretty good consolation prizes.
What do you think you tweaked with the Winnie the Pooh voice? Can you remember what sort of elements of the voice that you changed?
Well, I didn't really change anything. I was trying to go. It was just I wasn't happy with what I was doing, but everybody else thought it was great. And I'm going, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to shut up because I don't want to put any thoughts into their head that aren't there, especially if they're,
Do you think that's just possibly you being critical on yourself because you've been doing it for such a long time that, like anything, you've mastered it so much now that you're just being hard on a younger version of yourself?
Yeah, well, yeah, a little bit. But now at this point, I can do it in my sleep. But back then, he had been, like I said, he'd been gone for like 20 years from the public eye. And, it was such a venerable character, even back then, and I just wanted to serve him well. And Sterling Holloway, the great Sterling Holloway, he was the original, and I wanted to be true to him. And in fact, I listened to him there, and also Ka, and also the Cheshire Cat, and they were all the same guy, and they were all very, very similar voice print. And so I kind of rounded it out with just getting into his vocal range and the sort of the wind whistling through the cattails is what it reminded me of. And I just kind of had that visual and dove in and did it and threw in some acting and some singing, and here we are.
Did you feel a lot of pressure?
Yeah, because I wanted it to be good. I wanted it to be I didn't know that it was going to explode the way it has all these years. It's been almost 40 years. Mm-hmm. Next year it'll be, next year it will be 40 years that I'll be doing Winnie the Pooh. And I didn't know that it was going to go this well for this long. But, you just want to do. So I remember, in fact, it was on that show, and I've said this before, when you're sick or something, like I'm a little hoarse right now, but it's okay. I'm not recording, so to speak. But the thing is, I ended up doing one show of that series. It was in first or second year, and I had a bit of a head cold. I thought, well, I'll just get some Nasonex or whatever, and I'll try and get, because it sounded a bit nasal, and sure enough, I kind of powered through, and they go, well, it's okay. Well, yeah, it's all right. And in retrospect, and it was only one show out of 500 of them, so I can't really legitimately complain too much. But I remember seeing it when it aired, And I thought, oh, this is the one I had the cold for. Oh, geez, I should have pushed it a week. But at that point, it was a different world, and they had to get it done. They had to get it into pre-production. They had to get it into post, and so I thought, well, okay, but that's the only real glitch. Just don't work when you're sick.
Mm.
Can you remember which one that was?
Yeah. Well, it was in the first season. I don't remember.
Okay, first season. I'm
first
sure we'll
season.
find it. I'm sure we will never be able to discover it. It's just
Yeah.
you know that you had
It's
the
out
cold, so
there.
you probably just hear it. yeah.
Yes.
But you said that you paid tribute to Sterling. Obviously, that 20-year buffer certainly helped because people like myself and Chris, who grew up, you're the Winnie the Pooh we've always known.
Well, yeah.
Sure, we've gone back and revisited Sterling's Winnie the Pooh, but Jim Cummings' Winnie the Pooh is just Winnie the Pooh to us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree. Keep up the good work.
All right. Next question. Chris,
All right.
do you want to take it away or shall I take it?
Yeah, I got this one. It's at Devin the Windish. Windish.
Let's go Windish.
Windish. Devin the Windish. What are songs that you love to listen to in the car?
Mostly jazz and Afro-Cuban jazz. I love that. And R&B, Motown, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Not a Taylor, no
Okay.
Swifty, Jim?
Who? I don't even know who that is. Taylor Swift? No. I'm okay.
What would be the last... Actually, no. 2 questions here. First and last record that you ever purchased?
The first was, and I'm not going to remember who did it. Dave Seville, not Dave Seville, but it was "Oh Peppino, oh you little mouse, why won't you run away? Why don't you find another house to run around and play? You scare my girl, you eat my food, you even drink my wine. I try so hard to catch you, but I miss you all the time." And no, I don't remember who that was that sang that, but it was obviously a novelty song. And so that was my first record that I bought. And what was the other question? The last one?
And the last one that you remember purchasing?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Maybe Miles Davis, Bitches Brew. Yeah, I think.
Do you still have much vinyl?
Some, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a record player anymore though. But
Okay.
is there one down
They're
there,
pretty
Chris? I
cheap
don't
now.
think so. I don't
it
think so.
broke. There was one.
Yeah, it was, and it broke.
Broke.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got plenty behind me. What about you, Chris? What was the first record that you remember purchasing, or album, CD, with your own money that you remember just going out and buying yourself?
My first CD that I bought was from I'm trying to remember the name. I want to say H&M, but it's not H&M. It was
HMV?
HMV in Vancouver, and it was Will Smith.
Wow, yeah. What an album.
Yep, that was the first one I bought with my own money, and it was legendary. And
Mine is more embarrassing. Mine was a Backstreet Boys album.
I hear Backstreet's back.
Backstreet
Yeah,
is
all right.
back.
All right, there you go.
All right, that's another question. This is from @diamantis.leno. What's your favorite moment from any of the Mickey Mouse movies or television shows?
Oh boy. Usually any time that Pete is giving Donald some grief. Yeah, that's always fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to
Like
say.
a big
I mean,
one
there's
now
so
is Roads to
many.
Races. My kids love that one.
What's that?
The Roads to Races. My kids love that one now.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Good. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And Goof Troop was a heck of a lot of fun because we got to show Pete as a family man, and Pistol was his little girl, and PJ, and April Winchell was my wife. In fact, April Winchell was my wife named Peg in the Goof Troop, and in Bonkers she played my wife named Peg, and my wife's name, Chris's mom, is named Peg. So there you have it. You make of that what you will.
So unless your name is Peg, don't try bother stealing Jim's
Yeah,
heart.
that's right. Yeah, well, it's taken.
Yes.
This next question is from Dedicated Teacher 87. Have you ever watched any of the live action Sonic the Hedgehog films?
Oh, I think I saw one on a plane.
They're actually pretty good.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. And I like Jim Carrey anyway.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool.
Be good to get a Robotnik challenge between you and Jim.
Yes, that would be good. Well, okay, all right. You convinced me to tell this story. When they were auditioning for Bonkers, way back when. Did I tell you this already? I think I may.
A long time ago. So let's talk about it again.
All right,
yes,
it's
a great
brand
story.
new. Myself, they auditioned like 5 callbacks. They had 5 because Roger Rabbit was big, and they wanted to do something a la that world of Roger Rabbit, where here's a human being and here's a tune, and of course Bonkers was a tune, and Lucky Piquel was the human side, and I ended up doing both of them, and it was interesting because we had a callback. Okay, good for Bonkers. Good. Another callback. Oh, wow. 2 callbacks. Okay. 3. Anyway, it came up, I think it was the 4th or 5th. And they went down, everybody in Hollywood, apparently, auditioned for Bonkers. And they said, okay, this is it. We got it down to 3 of you. So go over here at wherever it was and do your thing and hit him with your best shot. And so I walk in, and the fella that used to do Max Headroom was there, Matt Freeba, anyway, and a guy,
Matt.
And a guy named Jim Carrey, and he was there, and I walked in and I sat down and I saw these 2, and I'm Matt Frewer, he was Max Headroom, which was a very big thing back then, and then I went, okay, well I'm doomed. Because this guy he was on fire. He was on In Living Color. He was on, and the other guy was Max Headroom. So I thought, well, I'll go through this one more time. And I went down, and I went in 3rd. And I can remember Jim Carrey walked out, picked up his briefcase, and he said, "Gentlemen, you may leave." And then he just walked off like that. Total Jim Carrey. Jim Carrey. So I can say that I beat Jim Carrey out for a part. I understand he's done okay since then.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, but that's got to be intimidating, though, right? For him to say that to you. Did that affect your audition at all? Do you think? Obviously, you still got the role, so no. But did it? At first, did you sort of go, "Who's this guy? Who does he think he is?"
I respond best to negative reinforcement. You'll never be anything. You'll never amount to anything. You won't get anything that you'll never make a splash. You'll never do this. And it's like, boy, are you going to eat those words? So
I would have loved to have seen that conversation where his agent said, "You didn't get it. You lost to Jim Cummings."
What? Yeah, but
that guy.
And oddly enough, he ended up taking over Robotnik because I was Robotnik for the animated
series. He's got the last
series.
laugh, I guess, with the Robotnik.
Yeah, about that. Well, I was in no danger.
You're Winnie the Pooh.
That.
Doesn't matter.
That's right.
But those Sonic films are pretty good, yeah. Idris Elba, he's the voice of Knuckles in there as well. He's got his own TV show now for that, like a spin-off.
Wow.
Yeah.
He's a pretty amazing actor.
He is indeed, yeah. All right, next one here from @GreenHell19. You sing in a lot of your characters' voices, but have you or would you ever put out music as a musician? We kind of touched on that earlier.
Sure. Yeah. We were talking about it earlier today. I've done so many for Disney movies and also Anastasia. So the answer is sure. In fact, we're talking about it just recently. We'll see what happens. So
you actually go on Jim's
tuned.
Spotify channel and check out a compilation of all the songs that he's contributed to Disney-wise.
Mm-hmm.
Worth checking out.
Yes, indeed.
So follow Jim on Spotify.
Yes.
Next one is from Amanda Hart 85. What do you do in your spare time to wind down from work?
Well, I do a lot of lollygagging, and sometimes I diddy bop, and I've been known to shilly-shally. So no, I don't mind reading. In a blue moon, we'll go bowling. Go out to catch a movie. Now that we're all allowed back out of the house, and things like that. Pretty normal stuff. Pretty boring stuff. I like travel. Traveling is a beautiful thing.
Do you make an effort to rest your voice? Do you find you speak less when you don't have to?
No, not really, because I don't do damage to it. Whenever I go to, like I said, I've told you before, whenever I go to a football game or a sporting event or something, I'd whistle for my team instead of yell, because some people they'll go home and they can't even talk. Well, that'll never be me. So, it's an instrument. You take care of it. That's all.
Yeah. Plus, you get stuck in LA traffic on the way home from the studio a lot, I'm assuming.
Could be, yeah. Yep. Yesterday was fun.
Yeah.
But that's all right.
How terrible is LA traffic? Because I only experienced it once and it was not fun at all. I can't imagine living in that bubble.
Well, I never would go in for like a 9 o'clock session. I told him I'll be there at 10. So you just miss it. I just never got in the morning rush.
Yeah.
And get in the carpool lane and call it good. It's not too bad.
Everything in LA is only 20 minutes away.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Do you still go into the studio now? Because I know that's what you prefer. Or do you record a lot from home just to save the hassle?
Lot from home. But yesterday I was in 2 separate studios. So yeah, doing Shark Week and Darkwing. So, oops, I didn't say that. Something to do with something.
Yeah. How different is it for you? Well, because when you go to the studio now, like what you did yesterday, were you with anybody else? Or was it just you in a room?
No, it's usually, I prefer that, but it wasn't that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really like that because you get feedback, you can feed off each other. It's just more productive. It's more organic. It feels like they're talking to each other.
When I say professional studio compared to a home studio, obviously yours is professional, but do you just think the atmosphere and the vibe of being in an actual studio improves your performance or helps you improve your performance at all?
I don't know. It could, but it's not discernible. It's nothing to hang your hat on.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
You're either good or you're not.
Yeah.
This one's from Sasha 4 Beauty. Every artist has a crossroad. Was there ever a point where you wanted to stop the animation voiceovers and do something different or really serious as a contrast?
No. I just love it. I love what I do, and I always have. And no, I'm very, very fulfilled. I like it. I like it's these conventions are so much fun too because you can go and people will say, I was so touched by this, I was touched by that, and you really helped me when I was a kid coming up, and I always knew I could put on the Disney afternoon and da 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 da. So it's very fulfilling. Yeah, I really enjoy it.
This one's from @MaxRock77. If the Fred Wolf Films crew had picked you to be a substitute voice of any of the Ninja Turtles, so this is the original animated series that Rob was a part of and Cam and whatnot. If they picked you to be a substitute voice of any of the Ninja Turtles between Leo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael, back then, who do you think you would have picked? If you could have been any of the Ninja Turtles, who do you think you would have appreciated being the most?
None of them.
None of them?
None of them.
For what reason?
No, they were all my friends, and it would have meant that I was replacing somebody. And,
do you have a favorite Ninja Turtle at all? Not regardless of the voice. Do you
I like that green one.
Yeah.
That he had a blindfold. The
Leatherhead,
the
right?
one that's the really good. That's exactly right. I was Genghis Frog and Leatherhead, and then I was Shredder for like 2 years.
Yeah.
So he didn't have any favorite Ninja Turtles.
Not at all. No.
We need to get the last one on here. We've had 3 out of the 4.
Yeah. You get Mikey on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to get Michelangelo. That's right. Yeah. Coming to a podcast near you, I'm sure.
Yeah, some very exciting guests coming up on Toon'd with Jim Cummings as well. So stay tuned, as Jim usually says.
This next question is from James F1392. Can you discuss your time working on the Wild West COW boys of Mesa as the Dakota dude?
Oh, yeah.
I've never heard of this.
I've never heard of that either.
Yeah. We're the Cowboys of Mesa. We uphold Dakota the West. We're the Cowboys of Mesa. I can't think of the rest of the words, but yeah, I was a Dakota dude. And he was just a big old side of beef. And it was where Mesa, there was a mesa up there that had a satellite land on it out in the middle of Arizona. And something happened and something got into the soil. And all of a sudden, all the animals, the scorpions, the snakes, the steers, the cows, the goats, they all became sentient and they could all talk. They all became humanized. And it was in the Old West. And let's see. That's right. I was the Dakota dude. Jeff Bennett was, he was someone else. And Pat Fraley was...
Colorado Kid, it says here.
Colorado Kid. There we go. And who were the three? Pat
Fraley, Marshall Moo Montana.
He was Moo Montana, yeah.
Joe Piscopo was Sheriff Terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny Mann, Boot Hill Buzzard. And Kay Lenz, Calamity Kate.
Calamity Kate, yes. It was a hell of a cast. And it was just a lot of fun. It was interesting because for a guy like me, I usually have characters that give big, broad speeches. And all that Dakota Dude would ever say was, yep, nope, nope. And that was it.
Easy
Just
paycheck.
about. Just about. And it was a fun series.
Seemed to be a very popular thing in the early to mid 90s. Just we get an animal and we make them humanoid because of the success of the Ninja Turtles.
Could be. Yeah.
I'm surprised I'd never heard of that. And you yourself, Chris, never heard of that either. 2 seasons it went for. Never heard of it.
Yeah, there's not many characters of Jim's I've never heard of before.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. My wife, she says we have to play a game called 3 Degrees of Separation from me because I've been all around the block a few times, I guess.
This one's from @Tennessee14_15. They say, Jim, do you like going camping?
Oh, God, I can't get enough of it. Hell no, there's bugs out there. I've done it a few times, and it's a lot of fun. I even did it once up in the snow. How about that? And went skiing. So that was a yes, and then I also like 5-star hoteling. That's camping for me is like a 3-star hotel. So
I can envision Jim around the fire, can't you, Chris, with the Kumbaya playing?
Oh,
and
yeah.
the marshmallows.
Yeah. Well, I've done that. I'm down for that. But
So
it's
basically,
usually in the hotel
I'm envisioning,
lobby.
a Goofy movie. So Goofy rocks up with his tent and whatnot, and Pete rocks up with the big camper van and all the gizmos. That's you when you go camping, is it?
That's right. Glamping.
Glamping?
Absolutely.
All right. @Brewhide, what do they have to say, Chris?
Brewhide says, and I have this question for you as well, Jim. When did you decide, or why did you decide to abandon that sweet mullet?
Oh, yeah. People said I had a mullet. I didn't even think it was a mullet because it was
Are you
pretty.
kidding me? It's the best
funky
mullet
on
I
the
reckon I've
time.
ever seen in my life.
Well, I tried. And I went to the White House with that mullet. I think I've got a picture around here somewhere of me and Barbara Bush. But I had to, as soon as they went out, that was the longest it's been in a long, long time. Can't believe I don't have it. It's around here somewhere.
You
Anyway,
still had it in the early 90s because there's clips of you recording a Goofy movie, and that would have been 93, 94, and you still had it
yeah,
then.
and
so.
Lion King. Oh, that's for sure. But yeah, it was, and then it just went away. I don't know. No
Shipped
moss.
it to Australia. You guys love your mullets down in...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the young kids do, not me.
Yeah.
I've never
I always say to my wife, I knew I was getting old when I look at younger kids and get annoyed by their haircuts.
I've never seen so many mullets and mustaches worn unironically as when I was in Australia. I was looking around like, it's not even Halloween. Like, what is going on around here?
It's just because our cricketers of the 80s and 70s were known for their big mustaches. So when it's cricket season, we all get the mustaches going.
Oh.
And
That's
cricket's
the
just
rub.
not become a thing in America, obviously, but they've been hosting half of the World Cup for the cricket in America. Have you seen this at all? No? Amazon Prime picked it up. And it's just interesting. I was going to ask you guys, as an Americans, have you guys seen it at all? It's interesting. Nope.
No, I mean, not even. I've held a cricket bat.
Yeah.
It's not quite the same as
USA actually won some games in the World Cup.
Yeah. I don't even see it. Like, it's not even in the highlights, nothing. It's
No.
not spoken
not a
about.
deal.
Yeah, it doesn't. It
Baseball
doesn't make a
neither.
blip.
Yeah. Baseball's one sport. I just don't understand the rules. I love just the idea of baseball. I love the idea of going to a baseball and having a dog and just a drink and just, but I've just never understood the rules. So one day you guys will have to teach me.
It's a sweet game.
Yeah. Who is your team? Both of yous for baseball.
Los
I used to like
Dodgers.
Who was it?
The Dodgers.
The Dodgers. Yeah, for me it was Pittsburgh Pirates and Cleveland Indians back in the day. Now it would be the Dodgers.
So at C Street 81, Jim, if all the characters that you voiced had a foot race, who would win and what would their acceptance speech sound like?
That's a good question.
A foot race. Well, Probably Taz,
Yeah.
I would think. And his speech would be,
Well, with that, Taz won.
I'm pretty sure that would be. He's an eloquent speaker. There's no doubt.
When you do Taz right? I'm imagining they don't really write scripts for Taz. It's just
No.
Taz sound and Jim improvise a line at the end.
Yeah,
Is that usually what happens?
Yeah. Well, it would literally be like a $, ampersand, comma, exclamation point, hashtag. Yeah, and that would be, and the intent would be something like, get out of my way, I'm hungry, or I'll eat your car. So, and it's that kind of thing. But every now and then, Art Vitello, some of the funniest ones were Tasmania show. Sometime they would break the fourth wall, and Taz would go, "All right, wait a minute, hold on." Then Art Vitello would back away, kind of Roger Rabbit style, and go, "Okay, cut. What's up, Jim?" And I'd pull off, and it would be a cartoon of me, and a cartoon of Art, the director, and I'd say, "I don't think Taz would do that. Do I have to? Should I do the growl? Should I spit then growl, or growl then spit? I don't know. Help me out." He goes, "You know what? Just follow your instincts. Whatever it is, it's going to be fine." I go, "All right." Then we put the thing back on. He goes, "And action." And then I would do whatever it is I would do, and that would just broke the fourth wall just for laughs, and that was it.
Is that in the show?
Oh yeah, it's in the show. And
So
oftentimes,
there's an animated version of you in there.
oh yeah, and then another time when Taz comes out of the jungle, and there's always a stampede in front of him because he's scaring the hell out of all the antelopes and the lions and the bears and the ducks and everything. Squirrels. They're all running like crazy, and Taz comes out, and the last person. There's one person in there at the end of the stampede, escaping Taz, and it was me. They drew that. They drew me into the Taz escape route people. It was funny.
We need to
gonna
find some
have to
clips of
find
that.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So you said that was on Tasmania, right?
Trim. Ba 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 ba. Yep.
Speaking of stuff that many people didn't know you voiced in, Jim, GTA 5. Chris, we've got a question here from @CEC_Northern Ohio regarding GTA 5. Take it away.
Yeah, he says, when recording for GTA 5, did you get to record with the rest of the cast, or were you separate?
Boy, no, those were always done separate. Yeah, you always just do those separately.
It's funny how you probably
It's-
saw it as just another stupid video game. Biggest video game of all time.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you don't really have a sense of it because you're literally in a room alone doing lines over and over and over and over, and you just don't have a sense of it. Like you can tell if a cartoon's well written and well put together because you're reading the whole story. Whereas these, you're one person in a room, and you don't even have anybody to feedback to bounce off of. So it's kind of, it's lucrative, obviously, and it seems to work. But as far as doing the actual gig, it's a bit not tedious, but it's less than, it's not as desirable as having a room full of people that you're playing, and playing off. So
Yeah. One thing I thought was really interesting because, you're Winnie the Pooh, you're Tika, everyone associates the word wholesome with Jim Cummings in many ways, right? With your characters. And when this GTA 5 rolls and the voices appeared, I went, Jim Cummings is saying all these words. You're very sort of, you're very
earthy.
You very, when you pick your roles, you make sure you pick the right ones. When you picked this one, did you ever think, should I be saying these words or not because I'm Winnie the Pooh? That just never enter your mind because it's just some silly video game.
Well, they were worlds apart.
Yeah.
And the fan base is worlds apart.
Yeah.
And, this one goes way over here and this one goes way over here. So ne'er the twain shall meet. I mean, and when the kids grow up and they want to watch that, it's not like it jumps out at you that this is the same guy who did, gotta get up, gotta get going. That can't be him. So, and that's
Another
one of
one
the
that blew
joys
people's minds recently was the Master from Fallout. We put the clip on your TikTok, on your social media, and people just were blown away. They couldn't believe that was you as well.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, we did that on-camera bit, I think, right, from.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, you voiced the master dying, one of his last lines, and yeah, I've never been a huge Fallout fan. I'm not a huge gamer really, but for video gamers, particularly the Fallout franchise, that was a big deal, and they just couldn't believe that it was you as well. It's like, of course, Jim Cummings is the voice.
Yeah, I get a lot of interesting gigs.
All right, so at Stephen Beckett, how are you able to keep so many voices consistently the same for every performance? So basically, how do you keep up?
Well, it's really not it's not hard. I don't know. I mean, I don't really have a certain method. It's just that when, I've got a catalog in my head, and when this guy talks or this one sings or this one mumbles, or it's there. I just, people have asked me that a lot. And I think it's just, not that I'm Robert De Niro, but I mean, if he was playing Raging Bull and then he was playing The Godfather, they were two completely separate characters. It's just a separate character. That's all. And it's got its own little niche. It's got its own little compartment in your head, in your brain, and you open that one and let it out.
Have you ever had to tweak a voice due to just natural wear and tear on your body?
Have you ever had to tweak it? What do you mean?
Or in regards to, has a voice ever became more difficult to do due to natural wear and tear that you had to sort of change the way you voice it slightly? That we wouldn't be able to hear, but you yourself know it's a little bit different.
No, not really. No, you got to keep it consistent. That's one of the keys.
All right, Chris, Robot Beard, what do they have to say?
Robot Beard says, do you ever channel characters at home, like Pete when you're angry or Pooh when you're sad?
Do you poo when you're sad, Jim?
No, I don't. I think of Pooh is really happy. But no, I don't think I've done that. I've never yelled at my kids as Taz or anything like that. So I don't, because
Dad's finally lost it.
Yeah, they wouldn't have taken me seriously anyway. So, no, I think I'm still clinging to some sanity. Thank you.
At Pluto_Pepple, do you have any favorite songs, Jim?
Yes.
Bing.
Well, I tend to. There was a band called the Beatles that were really rather good, and I mean, of course, I've got any number. I like a lot of old jazz stuff. Gosh, now I'll draw a blank because I'm trying to think of them. But there are many songs.
Can you play any instruments besides the drums?
No, nothing worth harmonica, but
that's cool.
Again. Bewitched, Bothered, and Bewildered. There we go. That's one of my favorite songs of all time. For what that's worth. We'll put that out there. Ella Fitzgerald.
This next question is from Ember Heart 2. What's the funniest bad luck story you have?
Wow. The funniest bad luck story.
Bill Farmer's got a few of those, hasn't he?
Well, he's always falling into things. So, yes. Well, the one, oh gosh, this is terrible. But I think we've said it before. The funniest bad luck story. Once I can remember. Well, Russi Taylor, God bless her. She was Minnie Mouse for many years. Wayne Allwine was her husband. He was Mickey, and I was, of course, Pooh and Tigger, and Bill was Goofy. And we went down to, oh gosh, where was it? Downtown at the Packard Center. It was for a Share a Smile. It was for little kids that were handicapped, and they could pick up a phone, and it had Winnie the Pooh's picture or Goofy's or Mickey's or Minnie's, and they could talk to them. And we were upstairs looking down at the Amundsen Theater, actually. And we would look down so we could see who the children were that were on the phone. And and Bill and I always would carry a set of drumsticks with me just to tap on my knee or whatever. And Bill, God bless him, he stood up, and there were these black velvet drapes behind us. Like I said, it was the theater. And he's trying to spin drumsticks, and he dropped one, and he went over, and he fell down, and it looked just like something Goofy would do. And he fell down, whoa! And he goes like that, and he kind of sounds like Goofy anyway, God love him. And he fell down, and he pulled a drape, big, gigantic black velvet drape down on himself, and whoa, everybody get me out of here. And it was just, and it was like, And Russi Taylor, she was so sweet. And sometimes you could make her laugh so hard that her face broke. She couldn't. She didn't know what to do with her face. It was, and it didn't look like she was laughing, but she would be. And it was just this sort of mildly painful looking thing, and she just could not go. She goes, "Billy, you just have to stop. You have to stop. You're killing me. You're killing me." And then another time, and I've told him, I've said this at panels, so I'm not talking out of school here. He once walked in when we were doing Goof Troop, and he goes, "How's everybody doing?" And he went like this, and he banged into a mic because they were all on booms, where the microphone stand goes here, and then they put it out on a boom, and there's the mic here, and so you're not going to accidentally hit it. Well, he knocked over the first one, which ran into the second one, which banged into the third one, and made it almost all the way around the room. And the engineer's going, and all he did, God bless him, was walk in. He didn't do, "How you doing?" So, I mean, it could have happened to anybody. But, I'm not talking out of school because, we've told that with Bill in the room, and he remembers it.
Do you ever enter a room like Taz and just destroy the place?
No.
No?
No. But I have been known to bring some honey.
All right, let's do 2 more questions, Chris, and we'll wrap this mailbag up this week.
All right, let's go with Dr. Raymond Origins. What's the most obscure role someone recognized you from? Think like someone primarily knows you as Denegir of Toon'd in Skyrim.
Ooh. Well.
You always bring up Baldur's Gate. You're always taken back that everyone remembers that one, Minsk.
Yeah, that's true. That was very old. That was a very old one. And go for the ice, boo. That was fun. But there's that, and I jokingly say that I don't want to really bring it up, but there was a movie called The Mangler, and it was a Stephen King movie, yeah. And I was the voice of the Mangler, and I just, when I saw the movie, I thought, oh my gosh, he just made Cujo, and it was so good. And he made the Mangler, and it was astonishingly bad. And so I thought, oh man, well, I guess I'm going to be stuck with this. And at the end of the credits, it said the Mangler's voice. Instead of having Jim Cummings, they put Tim. And I went, yeah, baby. That's my boy, Tim, right there.
You've told me this, and I've tried to find like a VHS where it says Jim on the back, and I can't find it yet.
No, you won't. It's and hopefully you don't find it anyway, because I've asked this.
It's amazing that they got the name wrong of the voice of the main character.
Yeah, the name of the movie. Yeah, the title character. So, but that's okay. I forgive them.
All right, final question here for the June mailbag here on Tuned In with Jim Cummings. It is from Clay Geller, and they say, was there ever a role that you got that you were just so excited that you almost broke the NDA? You couldn't believe it. You were so excited. What role do you think you've been the most excited to get? Besides maybe Winnie, because it was the first one, really.
Yes, that was a very good one. Well, Darkwing is really way up there, and Ray from Princess and the Frog.
You got a real connection with Ray, don't you?
Mm-hmm. I really love Ray, and Hondo Onaka. I really get a kick out of those guys, and I'm always gratified that. And some people, they really get into it because I cannot imagine having to go through this, but they do. They will cosplay as Hondo, and that's a lot of makeup, and that's a lot of prosthetics, and people do it, and you'll see 2 or 3 every show, and it's interesting. I always get a kick though, and this has happened maybe 2 or 3 times. It's not a biggie, but someone will go through all the trouble of cosplaying Hondo, and it's always Hondo for some reason, and they'll walk right by my table, and they don't even want to come up and say hi. And I remember going up to someone going, "Hey, you really look great. That's amazing. Have you seen Jim Cummings?" And they'll say, "No, I don't think so. Why?" And I said, "Because he's Hondo Onaka." "He's Hondo Onaka?" Yeah. Well, oh my God. Well, I should go see him. Where is it? He goes, "I'm him." That's why I'm asking you, what the hell's the matter with you? You're going to walk right by me? You know.
You pretender?
I mean, and it's work. It's not like you go out and buy a little yellow hat and a red T-shirt. I'm Winnie the Pooh. You know, they do that all day long. But you have to work if you're going to look like Hondo.
I mean, I kind of get it, because up until, I want to say, maybe the last 2 years, I just feel like voice actors didn't quite get the credit they deserved. And I think people are finally starting to appreciate and understand how important the voice is to these characters. You know, so I can kind of understand how someone who grew up watching Hondo didn't really know who the voice actor was, but thankfully they've got the voice actor Jim Cummings coming up to them and slapping them in the face and making them aware.
Yeah, no, that's right. Straighten up, you weasel.
They give you $50. All right. So, Jim, do you know, or maybe Chris, you might know any upcoming cons that we should mention here on the podcast?
Well, I know Denver's coming up.
Yes, so there will be from August 2nd to 4th, Bell County Comic-Con. The week after that is in Tulsa, Oklahoma, August 9th to 11th. Then in Chicago, there's Fan Expo Chicago from August 16th to 18th. Fanboy Orlando, September 6th to 8th. And more to come. There's more that are being scheduled that haven't been 100% solidified, but that is what's coming up in the next month and a half or so.
So if you're anywhere near those cons, make sure you get your tickets. I'll put the link for that in the description of this video /podcast, so you can get your photo, autograph, whatever you want from Jim Cummings.
There you go. Please do.
If you dress up as Hondo, make sure you go check him out. That's all.
Yeah, how about that?
Have you had any other characters where people dressed up as a character and had no idea it was you?
No.
Besides Hondo?
No, just him.
Just the big one? Okay.
Yeah, because everybody else is pretty much cemented in.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you for joining me here for another episode of Toon'd with Jim Cummings, another mailbag. These mailbags are fun. Just something to sort of just sit back, relax, and I'm sure you've been asked these questions 10,000 times, Jim, but it's always nice to hear your answers.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Keep those cards and letters coming in, folks, and stop in and say hi. And there's a podcast that we could mention too. Toon'd in with Jim Cummings.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Toon'd in with Jim Cummings. Make sure you follow us on social media. Subscribe to us on YouTube. If you watch this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button right now, and follow Jim on social media at Jim J Cummings on TikTok and Instagram, and at Jim Cummings Acme on Twitter as well. Jim, thanks for joining me, sir.
Hey, my pleasure. We've
Chris,
done it again.
Once again, it's always been a pleasure.
Thank you. And we're closing in on 70,000 subscribers. You know, those things. So let's get us there, huh? 70,000. It's been exciting.
I can't, it's crazy. Thank you so much, guys, for all of your support here. The YouTube channel's going crazy. So, yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on upcoming videos. But thanks again for all of your support. Follow us on social media. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you do listen to this podcast. But for now, I'm Dana from Four Finger Discount, Jim Cummings, Chris, the producer. And I hope you enjoyed this latest episode of the Mailbag of Toon'd In with Jim Cummings. See you next week.